I give the floor to His Excellency António Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations.
Your Highness, the Emir of Qatar, our host, Madam President of the General Assembly, Your Majesties, Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. The first World Summit for Social Development in Copenhagen in 1995 was a moment of moral clarity. It reminded us that true development isn't about prosperity for the few. It is about opportunities for the many, grounded in social justice, full employment, and human dignity. Since then, over 1 billion people have escaped extreme poverty. Global unemployment is at a near historic low. Access to health care, education, and social protection has dramatically expanded. People are living longer, and child and maternal mortality have declined. And more girls are attending school, with rising graduation rates for all students. These achievements were the result of actions by the global community to deliver on the promise of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Actions by governments to invest in systems that lifted people up rather than leaving them behind. Actions by international organizations and civil society partners to support development. Actions by businesses to ensure that practices enable, not erase, social development and social justice. And actions by donors to help countries invest in their people, infrastructure, and economies. But this second World Summit for Social Development opens at a moment of high global uncertainty, divisions, conflicts, and widespread human suffering. People are still facing hunger, poverty, displacement, and unemployment. Developing countries are not getting the level of support they need. And we are not moving fast enough to mitigate the volatility and outright destruction wrought by a warming planet. And we are falling short on the Sustainable Development Goals. Your Majesties, Your Highnesses, Excellencies, the Doha Political Declaration represents a booster shot for development. At its heart, the declaration is a people's plan. Bringing it to life requires action in 4 areas. First, a people's plan means accelerating our fight against poverty and inequality. It is unconscionable that nearly 700 million people still live in extreme poverty, with the richest 1% own nearly half of global wealth. It is unacceptable that millions go hungry every day or die each year from preventable disease. Trends made far worse by relentless global aid cuts. And it is intolerable that almost 4 billion people lack access to any form of social protection at all. Fighting poverty requires targeted, country-led investments and strategies in all the systems that people need. Food systems that can reach all people with affordable, nutritious, sustainably produced food. Universally accessible health systems that can deliver care and medicine to every person, no matter where they live or how much they earn. Water and sanitation systems that deliver clean water to all. Adequate, affordable housing. Energy systems that are clean, reliable, and accessible to all, powering development and jobs. Education systems capable of reaching every child and young person with quality education and skills, underpinned by well-trained and supported teachers. Universal social protection systems that can support people when they need it, and reliable, robust, and disaggregated data to track out progress. And progress also depends on investing in the future of our planet. Governments must arrive at the upcoming COP30 meeting in Brazil with concrete plans to slash their own emissions over the next decade, while also delivering climate justice to those on the front lines of a crisis they did little to cause. Just look at Jamaica. The clean energy revolution means it is possible to cut emissions while growing economies. But developing countries still lack the finance and technologies needed to support their transitions. In Brazil, countries must agree on a credible plan to mobilize $1.6 trillion annually in climate finance by 2035 for developing countries. And developed countries must honor their commitments to double finance for adaptation to at least $40 billion this year. And the Loss and Damage Fund needs to be capitalized with significant contributions. Second, a people's plan requires a laser focus on job creation and employment. In every country, governments and the private sector must join forces to promote decent work, living wages, and pathways for workers to transition from the informal economy to jobs in the green, digital, and care economies. Investments in training, skills development, and lifelong learning are essential. As called for by the Global Digital Compact adopted last year, countries should focus on closing the digital divide, achieving universal digital connectivity, and ensuring all people can gain skills in digital technology and artificial intelligence. Creating and sustaining jobs also requires countries to diversify their economies and enhance local processing and innovation to add value and compete in global trade. Any job creation efforts must also ensure women have equal access to jobs while increasing support for care economies. Throughout, we need to strengthen labor protections so profits never come at the expense of workers' rights. Third, a people's plan requires financing. At June's Financing for Development Conference in Sevilla, leaders committed to unlocking more finance for developing countries. National governments must lead the way by mobilizing their own domestic resources. And we also need to triple the lending power of multilateral development banks that need to be bigger and bolder, and more able to leverage private finance for developing countries. We also need to ease debt burdens with new instruments to reduce borrowing costs and risks and speed up support for countries facing debt distress. The global financial architecture must be reformed so it better represents today's world and the needs of developing countries. Developing countries need and deserve stronger participation at the decision-making table across global financial institutions. And global economic governance must become more inclusive, representative, equitable, and effective. Your Majesties, Your Highnesses, Excellencies. Enfin, un plan.
Finally, a plan designed for the people to bring them together. Too many people have been left behind, in particular women, minorities, migrants and refugees, elder persons, indigenous peoples, disabled persons and young people. Many are subject to prejudice, threats, poor treatment and even demonstrable acts of violence, be this at home, in their workplaces, in the streets or online. Governments must defend and protect democratic values, ensuring that the voices of all people, including the most vulnerable, whatever be their age or background, be heard. They must continue to lift obstacles to the participation of women, from boards in businesses to political power, and eliminate all forms of discrimination and gender-based violence. There is a need to focus on the needs for a more active presence of women in new technologies. There is a need for AI algorithms not to become bastions of male chauvinism. At all times and in all places, human voices, human rights, at all times and in all places, human rights will remain our compass and will show us the way towards justice and a future peace for all people. Your Majesties, Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, this summit is placed under the sign of hope, hope with collective action. There's a need to mobilize political will and necessary financial resources to pursue the voyage that we have started together and did so 30 years ago in Copenhagen. We have the Doha Declaration, and thanks to this, we are going to achieve this far-reaching plan because humanity is calling for it and deserves it. Thank you.
I thank the Secretary General. I invite His Highness Sheikh